marriage is oftentimes something that happens in your 30s, and I guess I checked that box off this summer.
We're not a political podcast, but we are not short on conspiracy theory discussion. We were in the drink line. Somebody was checking the girl beside me's ID, and he was like, "Oh, you're born in 2002. Like, that's good. You're over 19." I'm like, "Oh my god."
I don't want to have to come back from a vacation feeling like I need a vacation. It's funny because she started getting emotional once I started reading my vows, and then afterwards she's like, "Yeah, when I first realized how much you're struggling and trying to speak Mandarin, I got really emotional."
Welcome back to an uncut episode of That 30 Show.
Welcome back, everyone. We have not done it uncut in a while, and it always makes me a bit nervous. I have to be on my toes. What if I say something stupid? You can't edit it out.
We can't edit it out, yeah. But these are more fun though. They're a bit more, off the cuff. So,
and I'm excited for today because I think there's a lot to talk about, a lot to catch up on. Summer is in full swing now, and there's lots going on in your life, in my life, and in the world.
Yes.
We're recording on July 14th, and I think it'd be remiss for us not to at least briefly discuss, even though it may not have anything to do directly with being in our 30s, the crazy news that happened yesterday. Did you find out from me?
I did not find out from you. I found out from... No, I found out from social media, but... Yeah, like we're not a political podcast, but we are not short on conspiracy theory discussions.
No.
So
as you all know, as of this podcast timing around, if you're listening around the time that we're publishing, there was by all accounts, an assassination attempt on the former President Trump. And this is breaking news, right? Like, no matter where your political allegiances lie, this is unprecedented. The last time there was an assassination attempt on a president or former president, I looked this up because I'm not that well informed, was in 1981 on President Reagan. Did you know that?
I actually saw it in the TikTok this morning.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, like, this kind of thing has not happened in our lifetimes as people in our 30s.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy how quickly... Like, it's just crazy to see it live on TV. Like, the fact that we actually was able to see it, I think usually, you hear about it in the news, but, like, to see it live was pretty surreal. And then, of course, immediately all of the conspiracy theories start rolling in and memes. I mean, people are so quick with these things nowadays. Like, it's just...
Well, before we get into conspiracy theory, I feel like I need to quickly acknowledge, or at least say, that this is not good for... My opinion is that this kind of thing, yeah, you can meme it, we can talk about conspiracy theories, you can laugh about it, but, like, this is not healthy for the world, right? If people are... If there are assassination attempts, regardless of who is behind it, like, this is just not... This is not a world that we want to live in. It brings us closer to more political violence, to civil war-esque sort of scenarios, and it's a kind of like, I think we as civilians or as Canadians, like, all we can do is maybe like laugh it off, or like be like, wow, it's crazy, like, holy crap, conspiracy theories. But it's not healthy for our democracy.
Well, and people got hurt. I think somebody actually died.
Someone died. Yes, someone died.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, these things you're supposed to, like, any sort of political rally or convention or something, it's meant to be a place where people are able, like, it should be safe. Like, if you go to one of these things, even though it's very controversial and, there's a lot of different opinions and ideas, it should be safe for you to go to these things. And the fact that somebody was able to do this in and of itself, I think, was extremely shocking. No doubt.
Where were you? I think about this a lot. I think these pretty momentous incidents, it always reminds me of, for example, 9/11 and like where I was when I found out. And that's kind of different, right? Because you were much younger than me, even. because you're 4 years younger than me. But like, do you think you will? I think this is one of those things where we'll remember, where were we when we first found out, or whatever. At least that's how I see it. Were you like, on the toilet pooping, like
I was just
scrolling on your phone?
Yeah, I was scrolling my phone like I usually do, Insta, and then all the breaking news came in. I think during 9/11 I was at school, and then when we got home from school, it was like one of those things where like you're a kid, you have like no idea what's going on, but then you see it on TV and you see your parents like freaking out, and you're just like, whoa, this seems like such a huge deal. But yeah, I mean, I was just at home. What about you?
Yeah, I was. I just got on the ferry with my sister. I'll talk about it later in terms of on a quick trip. Just got on the ferry, so I'm on my phone, and I'm like, I'm on Twitter, and then I see the video clip, and I was like, Trump got shot. And I looked at the video clip, and then my first reaction is always like, is this real? Because these days, right? Like you don't know, and there's just a lot of I don't know, like AI generated stuff even, but based on the account that was tweeting it, and clearly it was live TV, right? Live TV footage. It was like, holy crap, this is real. And so I was like telling my sister, I'm like, oh my God, like I think Trump got shot. And she's like, what? And then we watched the video, and then immediately, like a couple minutes later, this account tweeted another video where he like raises his fist, and I'm like, oh my God, he's alive, like he's fine, like he's raising it. And so yeah, I was on the ferry, and then it was interesting. Like afterwards, I could hear other people's phones that were like playing the news reports.
Oh
yeah, it's kind of annoying. I hate it whenever people play things on their speakers on their phones. People stop doing that. It's really rude and polite. They were doing that, and I was like, yeah, I guess everyone sort of keyed in onto this. For 9/11, for what it's worth, I always remember that because I was in Hong Kong, so because of the time difference, I sort of woke up to the news, and I woke up to it, and I remember going on the computer and going on like I don't know what site, maybe CNN or whatever, and like seeing the headline and not really knowing what this meant, but knowing that it was a big deal.
Yeah,
I don't know why or like what's going on.
Yeah,
but like it was something I remember led me to believe, something big just happened.
Like I didn't understand the implications. Like all I saw was the plane crashing into the building, and it's like, holy crap! But you don't know what the implications behind that are. And I remember this. It was actually a very scary time because I feel like it sent my parents into like a state of hysteria and fear. I remember them like being careful to open mail after that incident because they were scared that there would be some sort of like poisonous powder or whatever.
Hate crime? Like why would they target you? You guys aren't like,
I don't know. But yeah. But it was a scary time.
Well, I for what it's worth, I think 9/11 is a much bigger deal than this in terms of the lives lost and the scale of that. But it was definitely one of those things where it was like, oh my gosh, like everyone's talking about it, right? We have so much to get to, but like I feel like we should very quickly, as quickly as possible, dive into the conspiracy theories, because I came up with a conspiracy theory. Well, I didn't come up with it, but like before I even saw the first conspiracy theory out there, immediately my brain, as you might saw, because I messaged the group chat that we're in, my brain immediately went there because it's just like, is this staged? Like what's going on, right? Because
I feel like that's where a lot of people's mind would go to first. Like that this was all like a setup by either party or whatever, that it wasn't just this random person that came and did this because like Secret Service is there, and Secret Service is meant to stop this at all costs, and they're supposed to be able to prevent these things. And the fact that this happened, I think people's minds automatically go to, this was staged, this was planned.
Well, and also because the downstream benefits of this for Trump and the Republican Party are just so enormous. It's like anything in the world, right? Like you follow the money. It's like, okay, who benefits from this, right? Like who's pulling the strings? And we think about how a assassination attempt where he is basically fine, right? He's like basically unhurt. Like, I don't know, it grazed his ear, but it's basically fine. So he got, and then, yes, at that point, I didn't know someone died. I was like, okay, so like no one got hurt. He got a little blood on his face, so he got like that really dramatic photo op.
Mm-hmm.
This is just too good to be true. Like this is the best PR stunt ever. So I was like, this is probably staged, right? Like,
and if you saw the rest of the settings, like no one seemed to be hurt at first. Everyone was like a little bit screaming and ducking, and then they took forever to get him off the stage, and you're just like, how is all this possible? Like, what are you guys waiting for? And then they, huddle around him. Yeah. Why is he allowed to raise
why is his head visible, right? If his head is visible, that means it's visible to another sniper. Like, what's going on?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And then I did hear about eyewitnesses who were there, were like, we saw and we were trying to flag down Secret Service, but they were just like, okay, whatever.
So it goes, so here's where my mind is at. It goes from being potentially, at first I thought it was staged in the sense that like, it was, like Trump was in on it, and or the Republican Party was in on it, because staged means that someone designed it to happen in the way that it did, right? And I think that it is possible, at least possible. I don't know if it's likely. I don't know in anything, but it's certainly possible that at best, it's like sheer negligence and incompetence. At worst, it's some sort of inside job. Because as you said, like, how could this happen? Like, it's like someone who, I don't know, drives a car and wears a seatbelt, and then upon a small crash, he gets flung out of the car. It's like, well, the seatbelt, that's like literally the point of the seatbelt. Mm-hmm. Like, what's going on, right?
Yeah.
And I asked ChatGPT the paid version for what it's worth, because it's smarter. And it was like, these are all the things that Secret Service would do to ensure that a nearby rooftop would be secured. Mm-hmm. And then, so I was like, would it be possible then for someone to go on a rooftop 150 yards away with direct line of sight? They're like, highly unlikely. So I was like, okay, so what are the reasons if the fact that it did happen, what are the most likely reasons? And then it listed a whole bunch. Number one was insider compromise. And I was like, okay, you should choose one. What do you think, if this actually happened, which it did, what is the most probable reason that it would happen? And it said the most probable reason was insider compromise. So, for what it's worth, ChatGPT
the fact that there's
an inside job.
The direct target and the ability, like the fact that there is a rooftop, and that's like probably the first place that you would think that that's something that would happen there, and the fact that it did, it's just, I mean, I'm sure
eyewitness reports were like shouting, be like, there's a guy on the roof with a gun for like 2 minutes before it happened.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll learn more, and now I'm actually most interested in what Trump says, or what his thoughts are at the Milwaukee. I think the next rally is in
the
Milwaukee.
RNC is launching now. Tomorrow or something, or the next day.
So I'm actually very interested in his angle on all of this. Once he gets a chance
he's the PR master, right? He's gonna spin this like it's nobody. I mean, he doesn't even need to spin this, honestly. Like, this is, if you just take it at face value, this is, you don't even need to spin it for it to be like, I'm here. Like, it really benefits his. Yeah,
but do you think he'll blame the Democrats for doing this, or
who he'll blame? Because a lot of people are like, oh, don't forget, like, the Secret Service failed you. Like, look into that, like a deep state conspiracy, right?
Oh man,
it's interesting.
It is interesting.
I want to point out before we move on, and I'm not going to name where these headlines come from, because again, we're not a political podcast. But there are some headlines from mainstream media that read like this. You might have heard about this as well. One headline was, Secret Service rushes Trump off stage after he falls at rally. Interesting. Another mainstream media said, Trump escorted away after loud noises at Pennsylvania rally. So, and then let's just do one more. Secret Service says Donald Trump safe after popping sounds heard at rally.
Were these headlines written by the Secret Service?
Like they're like, it's
we need to put out our own headline. Yeah,
just loud noises and he's safe. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I don't think this is a hot take, but it's just, we mentioned this in previous podcasts, how we really have to have more of a critical lens, I feel, in general now when we're consuming the news, because there's so much misinformation or bias. But that just does not help the cause. If you're anywhere near my train of thought, which is like, you've got to really shop around to get a bigger picture of what's going on. You can't just like look at one outlet. This was a case in point. Like, come on. I will say that if you're being really, really accurate about it, in the first 10, 15 minutes, it's not entirely clear. Like, you cannot conclude 100% that red stuff on his face was blood. Like, you couldn't, I don't think, right? You couldn't conclude that the loud noises was gunshots conclusively. So, like, I kind of get it.
It was hard to see even at first that he actually got clipped in the ear. Like, yes, he held on to his ear as he ducked, but like, yes, that could have just been like, it could have even been a loud noise or whatever. Like, it was hard to know at first.
So I do want to like say that it's good to be cautious and not jump to conclusions. But like, Trump escorted off from falling on stage. Like, he clearly did not just fall on stage and was escorted off because he fell off, right? Like, that's clearly not what happened. If you want to say, what appears to be gunshots were heard and seems to be directed at Trump, and he was rushed off stage for his protection, I think that's all okay. But like,
and it's like, you must have.
These headlines are clearly not because they're trying to be accurate. It's because they're trying to play it down, in my opinion.
Or they're trying to get out as quick as they can with their own article without, like, I mean, even if you watched the video a few times, I think you can kind of tell that it probably was gunshot. Like, you could hear the popping sounds, and they just want to get out there with their news stories or whatever. Those are funny articles, headlines. Falling on stage.
Falling, yeah. Any final thoughts on that?
I'm just very interested to see what comes out. I mean, I know people have already given statements. Both Biden and Trump have produced some kind of statement, but I'm very interested to see what comes out in the next few days and weeks. Undoubtedly, this imagery of Trump raising his fist in triumph after an attempted assassination,
the iconic,
is one for the books. So
on T-shirts everywhere. I was telling my partner, I was like, pretty sure there are some very timely business opportunities in the next 12 hours.
Replace all mega merch with this image of Trump in triumph.
Yeah. So how's your summer going?
Aside from, big political news, it's been really fun. I thought last summer was fun, like, because of the whole Barbie, and there was Taylor Swift. Like, like last year was really just a fun summer. But I have been having, one of the best summers, I think. It's been really fun.
Geez, 31?
31th.
Are you 31?
Yeah, I am.
31 and still having a kick-ass summer, playing, like, still living it up like the young kids.
My summers since I turned 30, which have been 2, they've been very fun.
Bigger and better.
Yeah. And it's funny because I remember the last Uncut that I had. I think it was like back in April or whatever. I was like, I want to slow down, get back into my routine, become more chill. That has not happened. We're not slowing down. We're just full steam ahead.
I remember last time I saw you a few weeks ago in person, you were pretty pooped. Well, like, you had the vibes and the energy was not there. I think you were maybe pushing yourself too hard.
I was definitely pushing myself pretty hard. I'd gone to a concert Thursday night, and then Friday, Saturday, I went to a 2-day festival, and they were like all day in the sun. And so, back to back to back. And so by Sunday, which is when I saw you, I was like barely able to lift my arms and my legs and smile and be energized. But It's been really fun. Actually, that summer, after the end of the weekend, I was like, it feels like summer break is ending. Like, it feels like I just had like a summer break in high school where I just had the most fun ever, and then summer break feels like it's ending. But it's been really fun. Yeah, I've been to some concerts, some festivals, hanging out with friends, a lot of outdoor activities. But I will say that when I was younger, I could probably do these like 3-day, benders and be okay. Now my knees hurt. Like when I go to a festival and I'm like dancing around, I find that my knees start to really hurt. I'm like, yep, I'm definitely 30.
Make sure you don't go to a physio or they're just going to screw you up even more. Just
oh, yeah. Conspiracy theory number 400. Yeah. So I feel like I can't hang for that much longer anymore, but as of right now, I'm still hanging on.
Were there any specifics or highlights, or I know you wanted to talk about it, but you're talking about it pretty generally right now. Was there something that you wanted?
Well, the concert that I went to was some of the OGs. We had Missy Elliott and Timbaland, Busta Rhymes, and Sierra. And I feel like all of the OGs are coming back and touring now, which I've been loving because I'm going to like all the concerts where, the old artists like Justin Timberlake and Avril Lavigne. I've been to some of those concerts. It's just so nostalgic for them to come back and tour. I know you're not a huge concert person, but I also found this concert hack. It's not really a concert hack, but like last minute tickets to concerts are just like incredible. Like, why would anyone ever pay full price for tickets again when you can just get last minute tickets? I got mine for like $40 for lower bowl, which is like an amazing price. So I don't think I'm ever going to buy full price tickets ever again. But you're not really.
I mean, the idea is that you don't know if you can go, right? If you buy last minute.
Yes.
And if you really want to go, you're not going to wait till last minute and risk it.
Yeah. But I don't think there's anything other than Taylor Swift that I would pay full price tickets for ever again. So.
But I think what's going on is that all these has-beens have spent their retirement money.
Yeah, they need money.
Oh, crap. We're out of money. And then you're funding their new retirement plan. How do you feel about that?
That's fine. I mean, they're providing the entertainment, so it's fine. It's just like I can't believe how these people can still move. Like, a lot of these people are like in their 40s now, and I'm just like, damn, goals. I want to be able to do that still when I'm like in my 40s or even 50s. They're still able to move like they used to. So it's been a very nostalgic time. And then it was like the opposite because, when you go to these kinds of concerts, it's like older people, like people in their 30s because they listen to, these artists way back when. And then I go to a music festival and everyone there is like 20. Somebody was checking, we were in the drink line, somebody was checking the girl beside me's ID. And he was like, "Oh, you're born in 2002. Like, that's good. You're over 19." I'm like, "Oh my god.
That's crazy."
Yeah, 2002. So, yeah. But so far, that's been fun. Anything? Well, I have a whole list of other stuff, but why don't we?
Well, why are you getting to your specifics?
Do you want me to fire them off? Okay, what else do I have? I went to a BC Lions game. That was pretty fun. That's football.
What sport is that?
Football?
Wait.
Football?
You still need to clarify. What is that?
Yes.
American football?
American football. Yeah.
Okay. The one where you tackle each other, throw this.
Yeah, not when you kick a ball around, try to get it to the goal. That's not true. It's not my first sports game. I've been to a hockey game, but my first football game was really quite boring in comparison to the NFL. I don't know if you've ever been to a
no, but
Lions game.
You're a football girl now because of Taylor Swift, and you're like, oh, I enjoy football. I get it now. I know the rules.
Yeah.
So it was boring because the level was just a lot lower. That's interesting.
Yeah. You can tell. Like, I'm not even, I'm not like specialist or expert on this by any means, but you can tell that the level is completely different, which is probably why all the best people go play for the NFL. It was very boring, and I was there for the concert before the BC Lions game, which was 50 Cent, and I was also there to eat a hot dog, because that's what you do at sports games. So go sports. Have you ever been to a BC Lions game?
No, I have no interest.
You have no interest.
Well, people go for the vibes, right? But like, I don't. Yeah, I'm not. I'm bored.
You're a hockey person.
Yeah.
Mostly. Yeah. Okay. Have you seen Inside Out 2?
Not yet. Is it out yet?
It's out.
Oh, damn. Okay, I'm gonna go see it then.
It's really good.
Inside Out, the first movie was one of my favorites. I rewatched it so many times. The first 10 minutes I love. Yeah, I absolutely love Inside Out. So
I mean, I think like most people cried during Inside Out. There's a lot of, tearful moments.
Like number 1 or 2?
Number 1.
Okay.
Number 2, there were also some times, but like the second one was good because they introduced new characters, right? And it's like makes it even more relatable. But I just love Sadness. Sadness is my favorite character. Like, not that I relate to Sadness the most because I'm probably like Joy, but like Sadness is just the most adorable character ever, and I just want her in my pocket.
Wait, Inside Out was the one where Bing Bong, right? Is that Inside Out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
it was
nice.
sad,
I'm excited. I knew it was coming out soon. I didn't realize it was out already. So
apparently, it's already broken all sorts of records. Like for this year, it's like one of the top grossing movies for the year already.
Nice.
Something like that. So yeah,
it's great.
It was really good. Yeah. I also went to Calgary for the first time. With a bunch of friends.
Calgary.
That's what everyone asks when I say I'm going to Calgary, and everyone thought we were going to the Stampede, but we were just there for a long weekend. There's not much in Calgary. A lot of land.
Other than more affordable housing.
There's a lot of land that could be used to build more affordable housing. Like, it's just land. All there is land, and then you see some buildings.
So why did you go to Calgary?
It was a bit random. It was like a long weekend, and my friends and I were like, let's go somewhere, and then we picked Calgary.
So let's go somewhere led you to Calgary?
Yeah.
Usually it's like Kelowna or something, but you guys are like, nope.
Yeah.
Calgary.
Let's try Calgary. A bunch of us had not been to Calgary before. I would still love to do that like road trip to Banff. That's still on my bucket list. But Calgary, yeah, I mean, there were a few fun things because there's so much land, there's more like there was like a Top Golf-esque thing that you could do. And then like this fun activity like arcade that adventure arcade that you could do. So there's a lot of land for like games and things like that. But overall, I have decided that I would like to stay here and will not move to Calgary even for more affordable housing.
Well, speaking of vacations, maybe I can share a bit about. So my sister's in town, and she usually visits once a year. She lives in Hong Kong, and she's like, "Oh, I want to go somewhere." I'm like, "Okay, sure." And I have plenty of vacation. So neither of us have ever been to Tofino, which is like this West Coast coastal surfing area for folks who aren't as familiar. And it's about half a day's commute / drive from Vancouver, so it's not too far. It's really beautiful. You don't only have to surf there, though. That's sort of the primary reason people go, or to watch like big waves. Although that's usually more during the winter. So we went for 3 nights, and why I wanted to mention this is because it was interesting that both my sister and I had a pretty similar preference to how we wanted the vacation to go in terms of the pacing. So we both really wanted an easygoing pace to it, where we're not setting so we didn't set alarms to wake up.
Nice.
each morning we left the Airbnb on average around 11 a.m.
Okay. Yeah.
One morning I got in like I did some exercise and went for a run, and then she did yoga before we left. So it's just very easy. There's like one or two things we do, and then after dinner we're back at the Airbnb at like 8:30, 9 p.m.
Yeah. Very
and
chill.
It worked for both of us because I guess we're both either at that age. I don't know if it's age related, but like we're both at a phase or stage in life where we really want the vacation to not be that exhausting or tiring. And it wasn't always like that. And I guess the question for you is, do you find that your vacation pace preference has changed at all? Or are you still going ham because you're G?
Well, first of all, that does surprise me a little, because I know you were the type of traveler that was like, I want to see everything, go. And so that sounds like that's changed. Well, but maybe it also depends on like where you went. For me, that
was the other point I wanted to make. Yeah. But first of all, I just want to get your thoughts on like, do you feel that your preferences have changed at all or shifted now that you're not in your early 20s, for example?
Not really. I'm still pretty like I like both. I like the relaxing aspect and I like the go aspect. I do find though that I put less pressure on like getting an early morning start. Which I used to do. Like what you said, 10 or 11, getting the day started around that time is fine with me, because I used to have like this anxiety of like, I'm on vacation, I need to get the most done I possibly could. I need to wake up at 8 and just like get out of the Airbnb. But now I find myself, there's more downtime, there's more relaxing time. But in terms of the activities that I like to do, it's still the same, I would say.
Sorry, my eyes are just dry. I'm not crying because anything you just said.
Okay.
It's still the same.
You got so emotional.
Anyways.
I actually did also go to Tofino for the first time earlier this year and tried surfing.
Yeah, you did.
It was difficult, to say the least.
So we didn't actually surf at all, which people would be like, "How? What are you doing?" My sister doesn't know how to swim. Apparently, I just realized that today. On this trip.
Yeah.
She says she took swimming lessons, but never got anywhere. So yeah, we just did hikes and trails and beached a bit. So I agree with you. I think it depends on the destination, so I think it's two things. It's where you are, but also something that my sister said that I agree with, which is it also depends a bit on your disposable income and economic sort of background.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're someone who has less means and a vacation is like once every 5 years, and or there's just no way you can come back because you have limited resources or time, and so if you have this scarcity mindset going in where you have limited resources and time and opportunity, you're maybe going to be wanting to do it more or like get more out of it, because like when's the next time I'm going to be here? When's the next time I'm going to be on vacation?
Sure.
When's the next time I'm going to be at Disneyland? I got to make the most of this. But if you have more ability or more opportunity or more privilege, then you're like, it's okay. I'll be on vacation again in a few months. Like, or I'll just come back. I'll just come back next year. So I think that was an interesting point. But what we definitely agreed on was the fact that we were in a small town, which Tofino is, and we lived in Ukulele. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but a nearby town about half an hour away from Tofino.
Yeah.
It's super small town, right? Like it's one of those things where it's not like it's not a city, it's a small town.
Yeah.
So there's only so much you can do. For example, if you're not surfing, there's only so much you can do. And because of that, we actually found that there's less pressure, right? So even though we're more laid back, let's say we went on vacation to New York or to Los Angeles, I think there would be much more feeling like, oh, there's like 1,000 things to do. Even if we want to be laid back, there's not much we want to do, but like it's Tofino. It's like, it's just nature. It's just, do you get more nature or less nature? It's not a big, you're not taking off all these museums or these shows and stuff.
Yeah.
And because of that, I actually realized, hey, maybe I enjoy going to like a smaller destination, sort of metaphorically.
Yeah.
Because that's the vacation I want. I'm at that stage in life, or just personally for whatever reason, age-wise, what have you, I don't want to have to come back from a vacation feeling like I need a vacation.
Yeah.
I want to come back from my vacation refreshed. And the only way to do that is to have essentially a bit of a retreat.
Yeah. Relaxing.
which you don't go to New York or LA for. You don't go to LA and in New York for a retreat. You go
to chill.
For a lot more.
I'm curious, are you one of those people that like to prioritize, like if you have this amount of money that you're going to be spending on a trip, do you prioritize your like Airbnb situation or hotel situation? Like, do you like to have the more luxury or spend more money on the more luxurious living situation, or do you not really care?
Yeah, so I mean, it changes over time, but right now the answer would be it depends, but let me explain why it depends. If I'm going to like Bali, right? And the point of going to this destination is to relax, is to have a bit of not a staycation, what do you call it? But like a retreat style.
Right.
And the destination is the accommodation.
Like the villas.
Then of course I want to spend more. But let's say I'm going to New York. And my accommodation is just a place for me to sleep, and the destination is not the accommodation. The destination is the museums, it's the restaurants, it's the shows. Then I'm not going to spend a lot because I'm not going there for the accommodation. So when it comes to something like Tofino, I think the destination is not the accommodation because the destination is the beach and the trails. But but you could make it. But like, so it depends. If what I want for this vacation, do I want it to be a luxurious resort?
Yeah.
If so, I want the itinerary to be like 50 to 80% time spent at home, if you will.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to go to New York and spend 80% of the time at home.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm kind of the same way, but I never really go anywhere where the destination is like, unless it's like an all-inclusive resort, I never have like the destination as the villa. So I never really prioritize where I stay or where I stay, maybe, but not like the living situation. Like, it doesn't really matter to me. I do see the case though that people make where if you're so busy, you want to have like a really nice place to stay because you want to be able to relax after a busy day or whatever. But I'm like, you're not spending that much time in the hotel rooms. Why would you spend all that money? I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So anything else on your list for the summer highlights that you want to share?
I just feel like in the summertime, I always take advantage of post-work because in other seasons, like I have such a routine, like after work, I go do my workout classes or whatever. But I find that in the summertime, it's more fluid and like the plans after work are more spontaneous. And like I go to the beach a lot after work or like on my days off and just taking advantage. The one thing that I do really still want to do is like more hiking. I feel like I've got zero hiking in the summer and it's already making me like not anxious, but I'm like, why am I living here if I'm not going hiking? So I have plans to do a really intense hike, which I know you've done before, the Panorama Ridge Garibaldi hike next week. So I'm looking forward to that, but I know I need to go prepared.
Yeah, are you training for it in any way or preparing for it in any way? Going to do a Stairmaster at the gym for a bit?
Is that necessary? I'm like, I don't know.
No, I think given how you just like roll out of your bed and hammer out a 5K in like under 30 minutes without any running experience, I think you're probably good.
Okay. I know it's going to be extensive and you need to carry a lot of water and all that stuff. So I'm a little bit nervous, but going with friends who are hopefully, we'll hopefully help each other along the way. Have you gotten any hiking done this summer? I feel like you really enjoy hiking.
Yeah, that's what everyone says and knows about me, but I don't actually go hiking nearly as much as my sort of reputation might suggest. So yeah, not really. But certainly got a lot of easy trails in Tofino that were just wonderful. It was so nice to spend I was like, I'm getting more forest bathing in these 3 days than I'm going to get for the entire year.
I did zero hiking in Tofino.
Oh, okay. because and what I really liked about it is that there's so many small trails you can do all within like half an hour drive of each other, and they're very easy, but they're really immersive. Like you're like immersed in the rainforest, or like it's like a short walk and you're at the beach. So or it's like a trail right along the coastline, so it's really beautiful.
Oh, wow! I didn't do my research.
Yeah, so I quite liked it because usually when you're here in Vancouver, the hikes you do, they're all about like, let me climb and like sweat my ass off to get to a viewpoint. Yeah. This was just, you park the car, you walk 5 minutes, and you're like, wow, I'm in a rainforest. This is so nice.
Oh my gosh. That sounds great.
So I like that
there are more trails versus hikes. Yeah. Have you been to the beach? Are you a beach person? You're not really a beach person.
I actually like the beach quite a bit, but I don't go often. I would like to go to the beach, and actually I was at the beach and I brought up you to my sister because I was like sitting on the beach and I'm like, oh, we're like, oh, this is so nice. We should do this more. We never do this. And I'm like, yeah, we should be like G. G does this like every other Friday.
Yeah, and I go more often after work now. I just feel like there's this sense of urgency that I must go do these things because I'm paying a premium to live in the city. And the reason why I'm paying this premium is for the mountains and the beaches and everything like that. So it's almost like, those like Asian parents are like, this is not a good deal if I don't experience these things. That's how my mom thinks anyway. She'll like take the bus to go somewhere because she's like, it's not a good deal if I, don't take advantage of this weather. So.
Yeah, and then there's just something very mesmerizing and calming about looking out onto the water. I find, and I don't do it enough. So, yeah, that was really nice, especially that's just the Pacific Ocean, and it was just nuts. It's just nuts to me, this idea that I was like standing there on this rock, just overlooking the Pacific Ocean, nothing between me and the water, and looking at the map, basically confirmed that if I somehow got into some sort of boat and just went straight out into what I was looking at, I would literally not hit any land until I reached Japan. Like that's what I was looking at. Like I was looking at Japan, but
yeah.
And I think it's those like the vastness of it just overwhelms you, and it's a nice feeling.
Just staring at the sky is really nice too. Yeah, other than that, I haven't been able to hang out with my mom as much as I'd like to. It's just like all these plans that I feel like I just getting really busy. And then other than that, just going on dates, having fun, So that's been my summer so far. But speaking of dates, I was going to say, if you are observant, David was rubbing his eyes earlier and with his hands. And if you were observant, you would have seen something on his hand. I know, I saw it and I couldn't help but grin.
So, that 30 show, honestly, I did it for no, you didn't. I didn't do it for the pod. This is like, I need material for the pod.
Yeah.
Get married. So yeah, in your 30s, often what happens, especially nowadays, it's you if you're in a relationship, marriage is oftentimes something that happens in your 30s, and I guess I checked that box off this summer. Woohoo!
Yay! Wow, how exciting!
Yeah, and so I mean, there's a lot I can talk about there, but I wrote down a couple points that I want to sort of talk through that I thought were interesting about the day or leading up to it. I don't know if you have any questions. I don't know. Do you have any questions about?
Well, why don't you take us through the day, and I will probably have. Okay, questions.
I'm not going to take us through the day exactly, but because I don't know not everything is super interesting, but so leading up to it. Okay, this is probably not interesting. Your friends are like, David, why is David talking about cleaning his car? I just want to talk about cleaning my car, okay? So I'm going to talk about cleaning my car.
Okay.
So, like, leading up to it, right, I'm like, okay, my partner's going to wear this super nice wedding dress. And because it was a very, let me just, off the bat, just clarify. It was not even just a small wedding. It was not even a wedding. It was just a signing. Like, we went to City Hall. We didn't have any guests except our witnesses and the photographer. and we had a photo shoot afterwards, so we did dress up. But we think we might do something in the future. But based on time and budget, we're like, let's just get this milestone checked off, and so that's sort of, yeah, we had a very, very small thing. And so in terms of like, no one's driving us, we didn't have any limo or like wedding car or anyone driving us or whatever. So I'm just driving in my little 10-year-old car. So I'm like, oh, she's going to wear this dress into my car. I've got to clean my car. It's super dirty. Can you imagine if like she hauls this super nice, expensive wedding dress into my shitty ass car, and then it gets all like dusty and black because I haven't cleaned it? So I had to do that, which is nice. It's a good excuse. And then the night before, I didn't sleep well because we just came home from my sister's in town, so we watched Bar on the Beach the night before. So we got home at like 11 p.m. And then we hadn't and then there's still a few things that we needed to do. Yeah. And so I didn't go to bed until like, I don't know, 12:31. And then I was like, oh my God, it's a big day tomorrow. I got to be rested. And so obviously, because I was thinking that, I didn't get good sleep. But I think that's pretty common. Like, I wonder how many people are well rested.
Like pre-wedding. I mean, even though it wasn't an elaborate wedding, like pre-wedding jitters or whatever was. Yeah. Were you nervous?
Yeah. Not particularly.
Okay.
I don't feel like. Yeah.
Maybe because it wasn't a huge.
If there was like a whole audience there, maybe. But one of the things we're doing the night before, and this might cause some people anxiety to hear this, was like we were choosing the music that she was gonna play when she walked in. So like again, there wasn't anyone there, but she still wanted to walk into the room with music, and and so many people would have probably chosen that the music lined all that up well in advance. But we were like going through the music, editing it, making sure we had the clip ready to play. And so I think that's actually the moment when I felt the most emotional, because some folks were asking me like, oh, for a lot of straight guys, you're not going to be too emotional about it. But, usually when you're standing there doing the vows and stuff, that's when it really hits you. Yeah. And then a friend asked me like if I was sort of overwhelmed by emotion unexpectedly. And I don't know if this is bad, but like, I wasn't necessarily. So there's 2 points when I felt most emotional. One before the ceremony and one during. When it was during, it was when I saw my partner get more emotional herself. That was sort of when I felt more emotional. But I actually felt really emotional the night or two before when we were choosing our music. And I think it's maybe because there's something that emotional about hearing, music. Yeah. Has some like connotations to love and emotion. Yeah. And we chose, she chose a song called How Long Will I Love You by Ellie Goulding. And it's a song that is sort of featured in a movie that we both love called About Time. Okay. And so I don't know how she chose it, but she's like, oh, this is a song that I think I'm going to go. What do you think? It was like the first song she played. Yeah. And then instantly I'm like, that's perfect. Oh, wow. Don't have to look for anything. Like, I love it. Yeah. Yeah. Because of the movie and sort of the feelings it evokes. So I think like in choosing that music, that was when it really hit me. I think that it was more emotional. Yeah, yeah. I always like as a wedding attendee, I always get the most emotional when I see other people crying too. Like if they're getting emotional, I'm just like, oh man. And then the other part is when the bride walks down the aisle, like at the first look at the bride and walking down. I'm like, when music is playing. Yeah, yeah. So it could be the music as well. Have you thought about the music or like what you want to walk down to in the future? I've never really thought about it. No. Okay. No, you know what it's gonna start off as like the traditional dun, 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 and then it's gonna quickly transition to like a rave version, like an EDM version of the traditional wedding march, and then she's gonna like. That's so funny. It's like a trap remix. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Like, everybody, and like instead of like, please stand for the bride, I'd be like, everyone fist pump. That would be so funny. Yeah, that would be fun, actually. That's a great idea. Yeah. And then funny. So she got emotional when I started reading my vows. And the joke is that, so this is, I don't know if this is a spoiler because I'll share the video to close friends, including you, because we recorded it.
Mm-hmm.
Because my partner is fluent native in Chinese,
Mm-hmm.
so I wanted to make sure I communicate or make an effort to communicate in the language that like is most meaningful to her. So I wrote so we both wrote personal vows, and it's funny because when we got there, the officiant were like we didn't arrange it ahead of time. Again, it's just very it's not a very it's not a big setup, right? So like when we got there, we're like, oh, so we want to write some we have some vows prepared, so like when's the right time for us to say it? Like, can you cue us? Do we do the legal vows first? Like what's appropriate? And then so the officiant was like, okay, you can say this. We do the legal vows first, and you can say the vows. And then they're like, oh, it's like hopefully it's pretty short. You know, don't. It's not the time to like share your life story and stuff. And in my head, I'm like, damn it.
Yeah.
Because I'm about to share my life story. And then in my head, I'm like, okay, you know what? Screw you. It's my wedding. I'll do whatever I want. Because then they're like, oh, if the vows are too long, like you're not gonna have time for photos because of the setup, city hall and stuff. We have like literally exactly half an hour for the whole ceremony, and then
okay,
which is not that short in the sense most ceremonies don't last that long because you're just exchanging vows and it's over, right? But in terms of having access to the venue, usually you have access to it for longer for photos, but for us it's just half an hour. And then so like because you want time for photos and stuff, and in my mind I'm like, it's my ceremony. I'll spend the time however I want to spend it. I'm gonna tell you my life story, tell my partner our life story if I want to.
Yeah.
Because we both prepared personal vows, and it ended up being both of us prepared a pretty long speech. And so as I mentioned, I wanted to speak it in her native tongue, so I translated it using So I translated using ChatGPT and Google Translate. And then I had a friend who speaks Mandarin help me proofread it one final time just to make sure that it sounds right. I was like, I don't know who to ask. I was going to ask you at one point, but then
it would have just been so funny if you just used Google Translate, because Google Translate translates it into like such a hilarious, translation afterwards. So like it would have just been hilarious if that's all you used, and then it just completely didn't make any sense at all.
So she started getting emotional. Is your alarm ringing, by the way?
Do you hear that? That's my dryer. It should end in a few more cycles, but maybe let me just mute myself.
And then it's funny because she started getting emotional once I started reading my vows, and then afterwards she's like, "Yeah, when I first realized how much you're struggling and trying to speak Mandarin, I got really emotional." So that was pretty funny because I don't speak Mandarin for those who are wondering. But I like reread my speech or rehearsed it like not 1,000 times. I probably rehearsed it like 200 times ahead of time because I don't speak Mandarin. But it ended up, so the whole ceremony took a long time because we asked the officiant to basically host it bilingually in both English and Mandarin. And then after I said my vows in Mandarin, I said it in English because I was like, just in case, because that's my language. So it meant more for me to say in English than it says to Mandarin. And then so she spoke her vows in English first. Yeah. And then she spoke it again in Mandarin.
Oh, wow.
So like,
interesting.
Because it was like all this like back and forth thing. By the time we were ready to do the signing, so you know how afterwards you have to have the witness sign the papers, and that's how it becomes official, right?
Yeah.
By the time we finished our vows and it was time for the witnesses to sign, we literally had 3 minutes left.
That's so funny.
Not a lot of time because usually when you do the witness signings, like it's a whole like photo op, right? You sort of pose.
Yeah.
You're all standing in front of the table and you're looking at the paper, and then the photographer is like snapping photos, and then you sign it, and then you have the other witness sign it. It's a whole thing, and it usually lasts at least 5 minutes. But like we're looking at watch. Oh my god, we're 3 minutes, and then rush.
Yeah.
So that was kind of.
I can't wait to watch that. And like the back and forth of it just sounds. It's like very cute, but it's like Chinese English.
Little chaotic,
yeah. Oh wow! Did you get emotional reading your vows at all? I feel like people usually do.
So but... again, not really, because I think once the ceremony started, I was sort of in like performance mode.
Sure.
Like I was like, it's especially since it was being recorded, and I was like in my mind, I'm like, okay, her parents are gonna watch this recording. Let me like not fuck this up, right?
Yeah.
And so I was just so preoccupied by making sure I read it correctly and well, both in Mandarin and in English. I think I was like not really present.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like it's almost like I was preparing like like public speaking.
Yeah.
And then like I rehearsed it, and now I'm like making sure I execute it well.
Right.
And so that's why I think like it was more emotional when it was more organic and intimate when she and I were choosing the songs at home. When it was like, oh, this is happening.
Yeah.
Your dryer's still running, by the way.
I know. I'm sorry. It'll shut off at some point. But is it really loud?
No, but I can hear it.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
And then just two more things I'll share is so afterwards we had a photo shoot, and that was kind of interesting because I've never been part of a paid like professional photo shoot before. I'm not much of a photo person. Like at least I like taking photos, but I don't particularly enjoy being in photos.
Did you find it awkward to pose? Like, you know how those wedding poses are like so, sometimes they're so cheesy.
So a lot of the times I was like, posing, but then she's like, closer. I'm like, oh, right, okay. She's like, closer, get closer. And then
pretend like you like her.
And then they're like, kiss her. I'm like, okay. And it's like closer, or it's like nose to nose. And I was like, okay. It's like, and it's like closer, nose to, like, your noses. I'm like, oh, okay. Here we go.
I know.
And then, so that was pretty an interesting experience. But it was super hot, and I was wearing like a 3-piece suit, and so that was not particularly enjoyable, but it's fine.
Yeah.
And the other thing that was pretty kind of interesting was there were some parts where the photo shoot we were like in Standing Park, which is like a public park, and people were really nice, and they're like, congratulations, they're like walking by, so like, congratulations.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminds me of all those times that I've like seen other people on the wedding shoots.
Yeah.
And then I had all these thoughts about how, I'm one of those people now that
you're that person.
Yeah.
The bride and groom.
And it was a bit more public than I would have liked, because at one point we actually was at Third Beach in Stanley Park.
That's a popular
seawall. Yeah, so we're on the seawall at Third Beach, and there's just lots of people, and it was summer, it blazing hot, and here we are in this like, and her dress has like a very puffy and large train, and then it was just very out of place, right? Like people are just biking, and they're on the sunbathing, and here we are just completely dressed up, as formal as you can have it.
Yeah.
And I don't like the attention, but it was just we stuck out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But people were really nice. They're just jogging along saying congratulations, and I felt bad because the seawall is so crowded and busy, and yet we're trying to take photos, and so a lot of people were trying to be nice about it. They're like stopping, but then it's crowded, right? And I was like, I'm
like, knowing you'd be like, oh my gosh, let's get this over with so that we can like let people through and stuff
exactly.
like that.
I felt really bad.
Yeah.
Because part of me was like, if I was a bypasser, I'd probably be like, who are these people who think they own the seawall trying to take a photo shoot here? This is not for photo shoot. This is for like biking.
Oh my gosh, really? I was just gonna say, if you think of yourself as the bystander, you would be like, wow, that's amazing. Like they're taking their wedding shoot. Like you would stop for them, but it's the exact opposite of what you just said.
I don't know if I'd do that. I'll be like,
get over yourself.
I'd be like, get over yourself. Because it's a public space, right? It's a public space, and I don't own it. We didn't rent it out.
But I mean, if you want that kind of scenery, everything is a public space. So
I guess.
Yeah.
And then the last sort of funny thing is, as we're going to dinner, again, we didn't have any guests, so I just had dinner. We just had dinner with my sister. So we're meeting up with my sister for dinner, and we're running late from the photo shoot. And then we're like changing into more comfortable clothes to go to dinner. And then my partner's like, oh my gosh, I don't think I packed my pants.
Oh no.
And then I'm like, okay, well, we can't possibly wear this wedding dress into the restaurant.
Okay, at that point, they would be like, who do you think you are?
Yeah, like you can't wear, like, again, this is a very non-discreet wedding dress. Gigantic, puffy train. You can't wear that.
She would look like a runaway bride because she would be the only one in a dress.
And the reservation we had was at a restaurant where like they would charge you a fee if you canceled or didn't show up. So I'm like, well, we have to go. So I guess we'd buy new pants.
Wow.
So searching on our phone, like, okay, where can we buy pants between here and the restaurant? So I ended up stopping by MEC, Mountain Equipment Co-op. That was along the way. And because they have like a pretty robust refund policy, I think.
Yeah.
So I ran in, I bought the first pair of pants I found, and it fit her well. And then we went to the restaurant. So it was all good.
Nice. From wedding gown to hiking gear, it's a full day's attire. Wow, what a day. And then you have to tell us the part where your partner then went to work. Did she not?
Oh, yeah. Well, so, I mean, without revealing, too much, like, her work is pretty busy in general, and even when we're going on vacation, she often has to do work at some points throughout the day.
Yeah.
And so I woke up. And
you took the day off, right?
Yeah, I took the day off.
Okay.
I'm not sure if she did, but like first thing in the morning, she woke up and then she was like on her computer. I'm like, "What are you doing?" She's like, I have to work." I was like, "But it's your wedding day."
Yeah.
And then like this actually made me feel better because there have been times, and she knows this. There have been times when we're on vacation in the past, and then she's working. I'm like, "Do you have to?" Because it's a different culture.
Sure.
Like, but anyways, and then so it made me feel better because like, oh, okay, like this work thing, like, it's not because whatever, like she actually has to work because it's a wedding day and she's working. So like, this is, and then so she was working a bit, and when we got home that night after dinner, she was like, okay, I have to work now. I have to catch up on some work. So she's very hardworking.
Yes.
Credits to her.
Yes.
Credits to her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like only Alicia would be working on her wedding day.
Yeah, that's just what a story. Did you have like a favorite part of the day? Aside from,
I definitely think the ceremony and the vows, and okay, like I'm not happy to see her cry necessarily, but like I'm happy. Part of me was because it's like, okay.
That your words,
I made her emotional. Yeah.
Your words unlocked
emotional.
The tears, yeah.
Like honestly, I would be a bit not worried, but like I'd probably be a bit upset with myself if I didn't make her cry.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn it, I didn't say anything moving. Although she did tell me in advance, she's like, "Don't make me cry, okay? I don't want my makeup to be ruined." So then, like, even before I started saying my vows, she was like getting a bit emotional. I'm like, "Oh crap, I'm making her cry." But it didn't ruin her makeup, so it was fine.
Nice. And then, is there anything that you would have done differently in that kind of like wedding, like the smaller type where you just did sort of the ceremony with a couple friends, did the signing?
No, I don't think so. I think everything went smoothly. Everything went sort of as we had hoped and expected. So given what we set out to do, which was to do it as low key as possible, I think it was great. Yeah. And,
that's good. Yeah, I guess there's no sort of like last minute scramble, where someone didn't show up or the mishap, things like that.
She did reflect afterwards. She was like, "Oh, I'm actually pretty happy because like there's a few things that I wasn't sure if it would go smoothly, but in the end, everything went really smoothly." And I was like, "Yeah, everything went smoothly." So yeah, I think there's more things that could go wrong if you have like a bigger production, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, oh, the wedding cake or like whatever.
Right.
But yeah, it was not a thing. Like we just, no one, it was a thing, but no one was like, we didn't host anything. So
yeah.
It was hard for things to go wrong, I guess.
Wow. Well, congratulations. David is a married man. He's officially put a ring on it and got the ring. So nice. Wow.
So that's a uncut summer updates.
Uncut summer update. Anything you got coming up? Looking forward to in the next couple months?
I don't think so. I mean, we want to plan a honeymoon. We haven't planned one yet.
Oh, yeah.
We probably want to go on a honeymoon. It's funny. After I get married, I go to Tofino for 3 nights with my sister.
Oh, was it just you and your sister?
Yeah,
It was
she's
just
fine,
you
she said
two.
that, yeah. Yeah.
That's funny.
Because like everyone thinks that like, oh, you're off like with your
Yeah.
newlywed.
Whisked away. Nope. Did your sister cry?
Yes, she cried. Because like when she was crying, I looked around because like I was like, can someone get her some tissue?
Yeah.
And then I looked around and I'm like, oh, my sister's crying too. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Need a tissue box. Ah,
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Are you looking
So
forward to
exciting.
anything this summer?
Nothing else really this summer. I have a wedding for one of my best friends to attend. And then, probably talk more about this in the fall, but I'm going to Europe. So I'm going to have a Europe girl fall, and it's going to be great. But the rest of the summer is just going to be chilling. I never like to go away for the summer. I think I talked about this before. Because summer in Vancouver is just so pleasant. Yeah, and got to take the most advantage. So when it starts to get rainy, that's when I leave. And so it'll be good.
All right. Well, hope everyone enjoyed our update this summer. I think next week or next episode we're gonna have a guest on. But yeah, that was fun. So much going on this summer. I feel like.
No.
Especially.
Hope everyone is enjoying, and it's like. It's hot, but it's not unbearable this year, I feel, so...
Speak for yourself.
Really? It's unbearable for you? Actually, that's not true, yeah. I have a hard time. I have a hard time sleeping. But it did feel later this year. Like, it didn't start until, a few weeks ago. So shorter, but...
All right. Well, hope everyone has an awesome summer as well. And we will hopefully connect with everyone in a couple weeks.
Okay, bye.
Bye.